There's almost 30 playable male characters in Genshin at the time of making this. I recently came across some discussions regarding who really is a femboy in Genshin, and that got me wondering about it a bit, and I felt like, what if I classified the boys myself? So I did. All Genshin characters are very pretty, including the males. It is obviously intentional by Hoyo. The pretty-faced male characters are so common because they sell well. And to a large extent, Hoyo is actually targeting the audience that prefers these pretty-faced boys. I'm also of the opinion that Genshin is quite queer-coded. It is kept discreet and ambiguous so as to avoid falling under the radar of the state laws Hoyo is bound to. I recommend these videos from E that go more in-depth on that. And since Hoyo has to tiptoe around these laws, it kind of makes sense that a lot of the controversial or norm-breaking aspects would be toned down or kept hidden. So, when it comes to labeling our character as femboy in Genshin, a lot of us are quite liberal and open-minded about it. Especially in the femboy communities, at least the ones that I'm a part of, we tend to be heavily against gatekeeping, and that's a big reason why a lot of the boys in Genshin quickly get labeled a femboy simply for being cute and pretty. I personally think that's fine. I'm okay with welcoming more pretty and adorable boys. Genshin is actually one of the rare games that tend to have this set of characters, and is also actively catering to the audience that love them. It is not too rare to come across comments that say, all Genshin characters are twinks and femboys. I disagree with those. I wanted to make my own classifications, but then I thought it would be easier if I relied upon existing ones instead of reinventing. And for that, I'm taking ideas and inspirations from Professor Lando. I think his video on femboys or twinks is pretty informative, even if it is intended for entertainment purposes. That brings us to this quadrant sort of diagram. So we have femboys, twinks, hunks, bears. Bears are not playable characters in Genshin, at least not yet, and so that quadrant would likely be very empty. If I had to make my own adjustments to this, I would probably put this part as actually more masculine, and that more downwards you go, you get more feminine characteristics. I'll be starting with the easiest to classify that need little explanations, and then end with the characters that are a bit more complicated. First, we have the tall males. There's only 12 playable tall males at the moment. Alhaitham, Diluc, Wriothesley, easily the hunkiest of the Genshin boys. You might have even mistaken Alhaitham for a new body type, had it not been for the numerous debunk posts spammed on your feed. Zhongli, a hunk. Despite his model being very slender, I feel like everyone sees him more as a hunk. He is just another victim of being one of the first playables. Ayato, Thoma, and Child are easily the twinkiest of tall males. They are tall, but does that make them kind of less of a twink? I'm not sure, I don't think so. I actually asked around a bit for Child at least, and the responses were mostly suggesting he is a bit of a twunk. I think that's fair and probably accurate. But if you were to refer to them as twinks, I'd likely agree with you as well. For Kaya, I think his default skin is very much on the twinkie side. His new outfit, however, pushes him towards a hunk. I love the details on his chest, and god, his braided hair is so pretty. I adore that peacock motif as well. I'd really put him towards the femboy side here. It was a bit confusing due to his lanky arms but brick torso, but I'm gonna put him in the hunk because I feel like he'd fit in there more than in the twinks list, to be honest. Baizhu Neuvillette is very interesting to me, and a lot of people for a variety of reasons, I'm sure. He has this really hunky build coupled with some features that are not generally seen as masculine, like his knee-high boots, his gorgeous hair, and of course the pretty face. If Hoyo were to take a risk, I feel like he could have turned out to be a hunk bear maybe, or a hunk manly character maybe. I'm going to put him at the very center of the diagram. I don't feel like there's any Genshin character that fits that place better than Neuvillette. Kaveh is also a twin, and I feel like he's been coded in a way that would paint him as a male wife of some sort, and his fanbase is also made up of people who kind of view him that way as well. As for Baizhu, his design gives off the healer and druid vibes really well, and add in Changsheng, and it's a really cool androgynous style. It's very obvious that he's a twin, or is he? One thing that stood out to me a lot is how feminine Baizhu is. I honestly feel like if he was a medium male model, the community would have been calling him a femboy immediately. I would put Baizhu as the sole femboy with tall males. I mean, you can be tall and feminine at the same time, you know. Now going to the medium males. There's a total of 16 of them playable as of now. Some of the boys are fairly easy to allocate, to be honest. Bennett, Chongyun and Mika are twins. I would probably put Mika a bit downwards because of his earrings and his overall shy personality. It's generally associated with girls, but I think it also adds a lot to his cuteness. Shikano and Heizo, twink. Kaidahara Kazuha, twink. I know they can get labeled a femboy in certain places due to how pretty and soft they are, but if I were to compare them with others, they'd probably get like 4 out of 10 at best on the femboy scale. Maybe a 5 for Hazel. Goro, twink. Eraser, twink. Sino, twink. I've heard people say Sino could have passed for a femboy because of his long, beautiful hair. It's his other design elements that quickly dispel the femboy vibes he would have given off. The bare torso to be specific. I can definitely see where it's coming from. I myself am a huge fan of Sino. I've been one since I saw him in the Travel trailer way back. But now that he's hair and playable, I kinda never got those vibes again. I guess I'll put him a bit over here. As for Goro and Razor, no, I'll probably talk about them in a later video. Albedo, twink. His hair is really pretty. I can definitely see him being mistaken for a femboy or a girl in certain circles just because of his hair and pretty face. But since his inception, people thought his body model would be tall male, and it's honestly a surprise that it's not. For this reason, I'd actually push him just a bit towards that side. Wanderer was a bit difficult for me to place. Story and lore spoilers ahead. He's made in the appearance of A, essentially a sibling of the Shogun puppet, and he's actually referred to as one of the fairest canonically. He's basically the prettiest canonically. I get this feeling that had he had longer hair like Raiden, he would have easily made it further to the femboy side. There's also this video that I wanted to highlight, which goes into how Wanderer is transcoded, and I really do see the connections and points made. For now, I'd say he's a twin. Zhao. I'll be honest, I never saw Zhao as a femboy back when he released, but I always saw him as a really pretty looking angry edgy guy. He has this really pretty portrait. His hair, face designs and makeups are definitely leaning more towards feminine. Like, it is only now that I can see he could have passed off for a girl if you only showed someone this part. Would you call him a femboy though? I don't think so. I would put him right here. Fenty, Xingqiu, Femine, femboys easily. Fenty is literally the poster of so many femboy communities now. You mentioned femboy and Fenty alongside Estelle are probably the first 2 characters people think of. He is solely responsible for attracting people like me to Genshin, honestly. Xingqiu is another one of those original femboys. He was frequently mistaken for a girl. His entire design is very feminine. The hair, the dress, the legs. So I can see why. Femine is one of the newer characters that fall in the femboy classification. He is that one character you'd see and mistake for a girl at first. Honestly, I love Femine's design. He has an adorable hairstyle that I loved seeing on characters since my childhood. He gives off that comfy, soft, introverted vibe. He quickly became a comfortable main for many people despite the fact that he's a poster. I almost forgot Ether. Though he's obvious as well, I had to record this part separately. When it comes to picking a playable character in the video games, I almost always stick to the girls. I just like their models more. I was genuinely surprised when I saw the male Prax design in Genshin. The braided hair, again, stuck to me the most. And I went along with Ether as my MC. He's adorable, femboy for sure. Tignari, femboy. I'm not sure how controversial this one is to be fair, but I have seen a lot of people mistake Tignari for a girl at first. It's likely the pretty face and the hairstyle alongside those ears that you generally don't see on guys, I guess. Also, the vibe he gave in his card and wish artworks is that of a forest lover. There's plants and flowers, usually girls associated with them. There's also this certain streamer who mistook him for a girl at first sight. I think Tignari fits the femboy category just fine. Linny. Probably the most complicated one in the list. I know a lot of people claim Linny is more of a twink than a femboy. Some say he's literally towing the lines. I say he's a femboy. Linny is most certainly a femboy. I recall Ashikai making the connection between Linny and Linny's design with the cabaret, and if Linny's designs are taking inspirations from that, then his design is definitely feminine. Okay, here's what nails it best. Linny and Lynette are twins, and we know they both can cross-dress and pass off for each other. This implies that Linny can be easily mistaken for Lynette. The verdict: femboy. I decided not to go into detail regarding upcoming characters because I kinda want more info on them before I do so. I'll likely do a follow-up in the future when we have more of them playable. But here's a final list with all the current and hopefully future playable male cast. I'm not of the opinion that femboys are better than twinks or anything. If you happen to disagree with any of the classifications I made, feel free to do so. The purpose of this video was to give you a more understanding on how a lot of us tend to group the boys. I personally like all the male character designs on Genshin. I know there's people who complain about too many twinks and the lack of big buff manly characters, but I kinda really don't mind. It could be because I'm coming from mostly Western video games where I could rarely, if not never, relate to the playable male cast. I'll talk about that more in a later video maybe. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you like this.